Why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth, is it true that your dad has a ringside seat but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby. What's up, everybody? Oh my goodness, it's like the old days. I'm having so many technical snafus. Hey, this is the pre-party, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Count. Each and every Tuesday, we come to you, that hashtag NWA fam, to talk all things NWA, of course. This is an interesting set of circumstances because this week is the kickoff of the Crockett Cup from Forney, Texas. Now that means to you, my NWA family, that means I was there. I saw these matches, and it actually means that they did a little time hop. We jumped past a whole day of tapings, 4 episodes of Tampa to get here to this Crockett Cup tournament. And I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. I'm seeing, and I do apologize. Your boy Jay screwed up royally. I was live, but in a different channel that is not listed, on a different video, excuse me, that's not listed on the Alliance blog. A snafu on my part. So I apologize. Thanks for being patient with me today. I see that Noob's in the house, Jeremy's in the house, and a couple more of you guys are in the house. Sound off in the chat if you want to shout out, like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Jeremy, our pal Jeremy, says, thanks for joining the Alliance blog for the pre-party. If you enjoy the content, give a thumbs up, like, comment, and share. Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate that. Willie Bowen has his Tyrus joke of the day. Our pal Adam's here as well. Willie says, hey, J-Cal. Tyrus was set to star as Barney the Dinosaur in a biopic. Sharon Williamson have enough purple paint. Oh my Lord, Willie Bowen. Oh wow. Kikuchi is here. Kikuchi is an interesting fellow. We don't see Kikuchi all that often, but he's not a big fan of Jaden. And I apologize to the sponsors. I'm not drinking Dubby today. I have some Ghost. Ghost is pretty good. It's got a lot of caffeine, and your boy Jay needed it today. The W, unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to make any today, so I am drinking Ghost. And can I show you what my kids got me for Father's Day? Can you believe my kids? My kids are awesome. First and foremost, my kids, don't fall. My kids got me a Build-A-Bear. More so, they got me a Build-A-Bear with an Alliance logo on the shirt. Now, that's not exactly the same, but I'll take it. But the cool part is this. They're listening? Listen.
Thanks for watching alliance-wrestling.com.
Longtime viewers might recognize the end of that. My now 20-year-old daughter originally said that. I think that was my now 11-year-old daughter. Anyways, Yeah, that's what I got for Father's Day. I got that and some flowers. I'll have to put the bear back later. Don't knock over the belt, please. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Maybe we'll see if we can get those in the merch section. Obviously not with my kid's voice. That would be creepy. But maybe just the bear with a t-shirt. I don't know. Anyways, I'm excited that we are time hopping here to Forney, Texas, mostly because DK and myself were here for these events. And so I have firsthand experience of being there at Forney. I could tell you what was happening. If you guys watched the show already, which is available on the CW, you can see me and DK sitting ringside. And my wife is messaging me now. Where was I? Oh yeah, so we were in Forney, Texas, and I have clips, I have photos. Most of the show seems like it was filmed in order. At least that's how they're presenting it so far. I did get a few good photos. I did have to bounce around when I was at the venue. I was at all kinds of because DK was so cool, got his front row seats. The problem was we're so close to the ring that it was hard to get good photos. And I know that sounds weird, but like sometimes you just want to get a photo where you could show off the entirety of the arena. Now that's a shot. Obviously this was early in the night, but that's basically what it looked like for most of the evening. Been sitting on some of these photos for a while and have been able to show them off. But we did do some pretty cool things while we were there in Forney, Texas. And I have a couple of video clips that we'll show too. A lot of good things going on for the NWA. I feel like, geez Louise, man, take a hint. I feel like it was a pretty good pay-per-view, I should say signature live event. Again, this was another signature live event. The first time that the NWA has presented the Crockett Cup as a signature live event. Last year, the 2023 Cup was a pay-per-view. The 2022 Cup, which I was at, was also a pay-per-view. And then the 2019 Cup was a pay-per-view. So it's a little bit different, and I think it's kind of interesting because now that we're in the Crockett Cup season, this show are quarterfinal matches. So we've already had the first couple of rounds on CW. They've already aired, so this will be a little bit different. But like, for example, sitting ringside, I did get to see this video. So this is that was kind of cool. Also, we had this little gem, right? It was almost like she was looking at me, noob. And then, of course, this one. So I mean, I feel like this is going to be a fun series of shows. If you haven't watched yet already, I think you're in for a treat. I will say this, man, I'm kind of disappointed. I feel like, not that we were robbed or anything, but and I don't know if they explain it on this episode, but it's not Silas Mason and Kerry Morton in this Crockett Cup. It's Alex Taylor. And I believe the plan initially was that Alex Taylor was going to take on the World Junior Heavyweight Champion. And for whatever reason, Joe Alonzo, and for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And I feel like we kind of missed out as NWA fans because I think Joe Alonzo versus Alex Taylor is probably a match that I'm interested in. I want to see what's next for that. And I don't when we were there live, they didn't give us an explanation or a reason or anything as to why Silas Mason wasn't there. Now, reportedly, I heard people talking that maybe he was legitimately injured, and I don't know. I can't. I got to be quite honest with you. I don't know for sure what happened, but it was like I said, the event was fun. Obviously, there's a lot more that you're going to see over the next few weeks. And I think this was a very smart business decision for the NWA to get to the Crockett Cup sooner rather than later. I felt like had they delayed getting to the Crockett Cup sooner, I felt like that would have hurt everyone involved. I feel like that would have hurt the NWA, and I felt like it would have hurt the tag teams involved, because the storylines would not have progressed, and we would still be in Tampa. And the fact of the matter is, Crockett Cup happened in May. We're more than halfway through the month of June, and although we have had a steady stream of Crockett Cup matches, I feel like putting it off any longer would have hurt the interest in the cup itself. So luckily that wasn't the case. And I will say this: tonight's event is multi-layered. Of course, we have the quarterfinals. This what would have been night number 2, I think, had it been a pay-per-view set of matches. And we get the Immortals, Odinson and Kratos taking on the team of Daisy Kills and Talos. Now, the interesting part about this is the Immortals are seeded number 4, which probably fits quite well considering the fact that they're the former U.S. Tag Team Champions. Remember, they surrendered those titles to make a run at Blunt Force Trauma and the World Tag Titles. Unfortunately, they did not secure the bag. If you're going to drop the belts, you got to secure the bag, daddy. The other interesting part is, why in the world are we... How do I phrase this the appropriate way? Why in the world, if I'm Daisy Kill and Talos, right? If I'm Daisy Kill and I'm Talos, why am I teaming with Vampiro as my manager, right? Like, why is that a move that we're making here? Because Vampiro, since taking over the manager responsibilities in the NWA, the first team he managed were already World Tag Team Champions. They were the number 1 seed going into the Crockett Cup 2023 and lost the Crockett Cup, and the next night lost the NWA Tag Team titles. So if I'm Daisy Kill and Talos, why am I working with Vampiro? His track record kind of sucks. And there was mention of him and Mecha Wolf and him and Alex Misery and maybe some sort of new team, a stable, whatever. They weren't even at the Crockett Cup. No Alex Misery, no Mecha Wolf. We know Mecha Wolf was in Tijuana that night of the tapings, participating in the Crash, where he took on former partner Bestia 666 and Rey Horas in a triple threat ladder match. So, triple threat cage match. So, why would you get behind Vampiro at this point? Plus, like, the storyline doesn't make any sense. When has Daisy Kill relied on anybody to be a part of it? Now, in the chat, I see you guys are already getting to stuff, and I will try to stay up with you. Willie Bowen says that Natalia Markova is a hottie. Let's do it one more. Let's run it back one more time for Willie Bowen and Noob and anyone else. I stand corrected. She was staring at DKM. Also, as we continue with the chat, more of your comments. Paladin says, ask your pal Jeremiah Plunkett. Although I consider JP a friend and definitely a friend of the show, he can't give me insider information. Once you do that, there's no going back. And there were certain talents who was giving out outsider information, and you don't see them in the NWA anymore. Excuse me. So good. Don't let Tyrus see your buckets of food, Kokushi. Fair enough. Many parts of Marcona are way too young for you. Oh my god. Kokushi. They said Thrill wasn't medically cleared to wrestle. DKM, did they say that when I was getting a burrito? Because I don't recall them saying that. Did you hear them say that live? Well, how did I miss that? Oh my god, you guys are amazing. Jeez. I can't say these things, but people can read them. Tyrus uses the Pacific Ocean as a tub. That is why there's so much pollution. Jeez. Dave Scooby brings up a good point. Vampiro as a manager fits in anywhere in the NWA, and that's Billy logic. I mean, where's the track record? And I hear you, Scoob. I don't disagree with you. I'm sure that is Billy's logic, but like when you put Alex Misery and Mecha Wolf, and they have this kind of goth, dark, ambivalent characters to team with Vampiro, who's borderline schizophrenic, and that's not a diagnosis. The character is very aloof, very kind of speaks in circles. I kind of get why you would put them together with Mecha Wolf, with Misery. They all wear like varying shades of face paint. They all have something in common. Of course, Vampiro and Mecha Wolf both are regulars for AAA. So all that kind of makes sense to me. I get that. Talos and Daisy Kills have zero connection to Vampiro. They're not spouting off psychotic, ramblings. They're not talking about, the higher power or anything like that. They don't wear face paint. So I don't get the correlation. Now, if you want to use Vampiro in that role, I guess I don't have a problem with it. But as a wrestler, why would you, as a wrestler, pick the guy who essentially ruined La Rebellion? Let's face it, they were the tag team champions before we got Vampiro, and then as soon as Vampiro showed up, they lose the tag titles, and then they're stuck feuding with two clowns, literally. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, just from as a story, from a character, from a gimmick. And I get that that's kind of the hallmark of Billy booking, but that one kind of is troubling to me. Noob says Natalia Markova is going to be a big deal in the NWA. Brian Idol, not so much. I got to see Brian Idol the same weekend that I saw EC3 taking on Honest John, and Idol won his match. Idol defeated Matthias, local SoCal kid, and they were wrestling for an opportunity for the Valley Wrestling Connection title, and he won, so he's going to be back. But I got to be honest, I'm not overly impressed with Brian Idol. And, I hear that he does a lot for the NWA backstage. I haven't watched the Billy Corgan's Carneyland docu-series on the CW, so I don't know exactly to what extent he does, but I've heard he's a needle mover, and he books these venues, and that's great and all. To what extent does that mean he needs to be on my TV, though? He's not very good. And I've said this not just since his days in the NWA, not just with his time as Mercurio, but also when he was wrestling for Primetime Live as himself, Brian Idol. I just felt that he was very wooden and laconic in the ring, and that's not a good formula for a successful talent. I don't want to beat the guy up, but I was not overly impressed with Brian Idol. I've yet to be impressed by Brian Idol. Willie says, seeing Natalia Markova is a Viagra moment. That's fair. Natalia is a little blue pill. Tyrus is a big blue whale. Oh my God. Brian Idol is a needle mover. He sells tickets. Man, my phone is blowing up. Willie says, don't insult whales. They serve a purpose. Unlike Tyrus. Oh gosh. Yeah, Dodie. Sorry, I didn't mean to spill the beans on that one. But all in all, I feel like that was a weird booking decision to put Vampiro with Talos and Kratos. And furthermore, DKM was backstage. It wasn't backstage. He was in the concession area after the match. No, I was. Excuse me. I was backstage after the match. I'm not saying things the right way today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I was in the concession area after that match, and Vampiro was gone. So I don't know that he really had a whole lot to do while he was there, and maybe they did a lot of pre-tape segments. But that was kind of it for Vampiro. He was like a second match out, third match out. There were some dark matches. We didn't, obviously, I don't think they're going to show those. One of the dark matches was for the #1 contendership for the U.S. tag titles, and it was based on a local Texas tag team. At least it seemed like it was. And we didn't get that match played out. So anyway, so we have the first round, and then the second round, the second match, we get Tiffany Nieves and Reka Tehaka taking on Ruthie J and La Rosa Negra. And I gotta be honest, that was the match I bounced out on. I was hungry and I went and got myself a burrito. It was delicious. Props out to the Inspiration, the OC theater, for having the nice burritos and taco stand. I did enjoy my burrito and missed out on the entirety of that match. Local Texas tag team becoming #1 contender. The next Jay Spade. Jay Spade, the longest running #1 contender for the World Junior Heavyweight title. I would have popped so hard if that would have been Joe Alonzo's opponent at the Crockett Cup. He was not, though. But then also the second round matchup, we got the Country Gentlemen taking on the Southern Six. I don't know why I had a brain fart there all of a sudden. Kerry Morton and sorry guys, Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor. Like I said earlier, they didn't mention why Taylor and Morton were teaming as opposed to Silas Mason. DK said that he heard that it might have been an injury or something that wasn't cleared. He wasn't medically cleared to wrestle. I hadn't heard anything about that. I just know that Taylor was there. And I was actually very delighted to see the pairing of Taylor and Morton, because Silas Mason's really good. I don't want to make this sound negative. Silas Mason is a fantastic wrestler, and I think that his reach will be so much greater over time with the NWA. But I really feel like Taylor is very underutilized. It seems like most of the time he is the punching bag of the Southern Six, and it seems like Kerry Morton is the one that's writing a check that his ass can't cash. But they stepped up pretty big in this tournament, and you guys will see over the course of the next few weeks just how big of a step up that they had. So I was excited to see them as a pairing. Interestingly enough, it feels like AJ and Kerry have been feuding for quite some time at Joe Cazana Promotions. So it kind of felt like that feud had kind of carried over. And when we don't get a lot of synergy so far, it feels like from the territories, this was one of those moments that if you're a Joe Cazana Promotions fan, you kind of got a bit of a payoff from that interaction. Dodie says Silas doesn't need a tag team. He needs to be the solo monster, the 10 pounds of gold destined for him. Well, and that's the thing, too. We talk about Max being this dominant force as television champion, has failed to defend the women's TV title since January or so, and most recently defended against Magic Jake. Does not defend during the Crockett Cup because they are part of the tag team tournament. But a guy like Silas Mason, I don't think that Max is able to withstand the ferocity that is Silas Mason. And speaking of Max the Impaler, I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about Max. Recently, it's been announced that they will be starring in a horror movie called Dolly. And I don't know a whole lot about Dolly. I don't know a whole lot about horror movies. But man, what a great what a great person to cast. Max the Impaler to the normal wrestling fan could be very intimidating. Hell, to a regular wrestling fan, it could be very intimidating. But this is kind of a weird, this is one of those deals that Variety reported on it. Sean William Scott, who I believe is, I believe that's Stifler, right? From those teen movies. What are those? I don't know. But I guess it's already wrapped. So we made Dolly as an elegant and twisted fairy tale born out of the deep love of genre films and wanting to see something insane that a 13-year-old Rod would want to watch. This film is renewed investment in our ethos as filmmakers and our proud tribe of misfits. And candidly, I really want to make my films, The White Room and Die by Night, and hope this will help that cause. So Hollywood, help the fella out. Rod, I don't know who Rod is. I'm just paraphrasing an article. I guess I should have actually read it. But if you're into horror movies, and I know some of you are, Max the Impaler coming to a theater near you. Hopefully it doesn't go direct to video. Now remember, a few, maybe about half a year ago, we saw Camille star in a film about May. Was it Mae Young? Now I don't remember. But she was. Look it up, guys. Your source of news and information is drawing a blank right now. But oh geez, Kikuchi, here it is. I thought the horror movie was WPC's booking. Shit. Dodie says, or tell Silas to fly to All Japan, become history, will be damned if never becomes the NWA World Champion or Triple Crown Champion. Yeah, I still think there's a lot of time for Silas Mason. He's still younger as it comes to a pro wrestler, and I don't think he's hit his stride yet. He's still the Joe Cazana Promotions Southeastern Champion. And I do believe his time will come where he'll get a greater opportunity to challenge for that 10 pounds of gold. Paladin says Max carries a mouse in their pocket. I'm not sure what you mean there, Paladin. Dodie says, will Father James have some sugar for the horror? Some sugar boogers? I'm sure he will. Dodie corrected me, saying Camille has June Byers. I believe, I think you're right, Dodie. I don't, like I said, my memory is not the best today. All of a sudden, I decided to show up late to work or whatever. But yeah. And then, of course, as we look for more of the Crockett Cup, like I said, we have. I have everything all backwards right now. That's why you call Max they, because it's her and a mouse. No, Paladin, I call them they because that's a respectful thing, because they do not identify as male or female. And I can wrap my head around that enough to say, hey, you know what? I don't have to necessarily agree with whatever they feel without being disrespectful. I could still say, hey, if you want to be called they, I will absolutely do my best to call you they, them, as opposed to the pronouns that they were born with. I still slip up too, but it's not out of defiance or out of aggression. It's just out of, being 45 years old and having all this still pretty new to me. But I do my best to try to be understanding and polite. The LGBTQ plus community. Look, I'm an ally. I try to be kind to those who are in that community, and I would hope that everyone would be that way. It was a good episode. Sean, do you like this episode of Power? How do you feel about it not being a pay-per-view? Because that's kind of weird to me. And I mentioned earlier in this episode, this is the first time we've had an episode of POWERRR that was featuring matches from the Crockett Cup. Typically, Crockett Cup has been a pay-per-view. It had been since Lightning One had taken over for the NWA and started presenting those tournaments in 2019. When it was in North Carolina, that was in fact a pay-per-view. When they did it again in Nashville in 2022, also a pay-per-view. And even last year, I'm not sure where it took place last year. I think I can pull it up though real quick. Last year it was in Winston-Salem, so also North Carolina. That tournament was also on pay-per-view. So it's kind of interesting that this will be the first time that's not. And I feel like I said earlier, I'm glad that they're doing it now instead of waiting another 4 weeks to get to while they finish up in Tampa. I think it's a nice break, and I'm kind of concerned of what the pacing is going to look like after the Crockett Cup, because they had filmed so much stuff in advance. It'll be weird. Yeah, the Mildred Burke story is what Dave Scooby's saying. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of neat. You know, you've got the NWA, the home of wrestling, the way it should be according to Joe Galley, and in that hemisphere of pro wrestling, you also have stars from Hollywood, or wrestlers getting an opportunity to become stars in Hollywood. First with both Silas Mason and Brady Pierce appearing in the Iron Claw story, and then of course the artist formerly known as Camille appearing for the June Byers biopic, and then now Maxine Paler doing a horror movie. I think that's pretty interesting that those people have had those opportunities. Sean Mega says it doesn't feel too rushed, and that's fair. I mean, I was there, and there was some matches I really liked, some matches I didn't like, and you'll see, like, the stories will play out, I'm sure. But yeah, I feel like things are starting to pick up for the NWA, and I could say that because I know that our world's heavyweight champion has just returned from Australia, where he defended the 10 pounds of gold. And I gotta say, man, when we talk about EC3, what he's been able to do in such a short amount of time has been nothing short of awe-inspiring. I mean, look, it's very easy for us all to sit here and be like, well, the NWA should do this, the NWA should do that. You know, there's only so much that EC3 can control when he's being booked by Billy Corgan, and kind of has to fall to whatever Billy Corgan says. But, I mean, as of right now, the NWA World's Champion has defended the title 30 times. 30 times. And that's in less than a year. I mean, he won the title in August of 2023. August 27th, 2023. NWA 75 defeated Tyrus. And since then has defended the title in multiple states. And over 30 times. And you know, the matches that he had to miss for whatever reason, he has made up. You know, there was the match in Utah that was supposed to be in December. He reconciled that one. The match that he has this weekend, or I guess it's this weekend in Toronto. Again, he was supposed to be competing in Toronto, and that title match, I think that was supposed to be in early January. That one got pushed to the side as well. So, you know, by the time we get to the 76th anniversary show, and again, we're only talking about the matches that have aired on TV or that I've seen in person, right? So, you know, there's still matches that could have happened in Tampa. Of course, he wrestled Wrecking. They alluded to it a few weeks back on POWERRR that he would be giving a shot to Wrecking Ball Legursky. So we know that match is in the works. He has this match that's coming up for Greektown Wrestling that's happening, I believe, what day is that? I think it's Friday. Friday the 21st against Channing Decker for Greektown Wrestling. Then he comes back to his home promotion, Exodus Pro, to defend against Carson Drake. Then he'll be defending on Sunday, the 23rd, against Bill Collier in Pennsylvania for APWF, the Revolution. That's 3 matches this weekend. And then, on top of that, then he's heading to France, to Italy. And, of course, there was the taping that they filmed for the Return of the Indies that I'm sure will have some sort of EC3 title defense, as well as, whatever comes up next. So that's at least 5 more matches that you could account for before the 76, and I'm sure he's not going to rest on his laurels. By the time we get to 76, EC3 could, in fact, have 50 title defenses. And if he's not there at 50, I'm sure he gets pretty dang close. So I'm very excited to what EC3 has done for the NWA and how he's kind of carrying that flag, that banner. We mentioned him defending internationally. He's doing that. He's did it in Japan. He's going to France. He's going to Italy. He's gone to Canada. We haven't seen Mexico yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that isn't in the works either. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened sooner than later. Paladin says, I don't know if Camilla's signed anymore. They're saying Megan Bain isn't signed anymore to AEW. I mean, that's a possibility. I thought I saw something that said Camille was expecting to have her first match very soon. I think it was supposed to be last Sunday, but I don't know if I actually saw her wrestle anywhere on my map. So, that's I'm looking at Cage Match right now, and if I spelt her name correctly, I probably would have got it. Let's see, Camille matches. They still say that she is signed to AEW on Cage Match. Now that's not 100% reliable. We know that, but they still show that that's where Camille is signed. So I don't know if that is a real reality or not. Dodie says, without pay-per-view and all the results and tape delay, it feels awkward. No pay-per-view sucks too, but with the system we have, a year full of Power without season breaks, that's around Power before, so it's good and bad, it seems. You definitely, okay, if we're breaking this down just for the American fans, because obviously it's not an international production, it's only here in the States, you're getting 52 weeks of Power with what seems like no repeats, right? I don't think I've seen a single repeat since they've been on the CW. That's a good thing. And I'm not having to pay for it. So that's also a good thing. But the drawbacks to that is, like you said, the schedule is awkward. The live events, if you're going to a live event, it's not necessarily what you're watching on television. It's not going to line up. So it'll be interesting how things seem to progress. Paladin says, I remember Tyrus lost last match with EC3. He made Ric Flair look like Will Ospreay. I don't know what you're trying to say there, Paladin. There was a point when Tyrus wasn't even moving. EC3 had to push him around like a log. Yeah, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that there's a good reason why Tyrus is no longer world's heavyweight champion, and I can't specifically say what or why the NWA decided to move on, but I think that was a great decision to move on. I don't know that they got the mileage out of out of Tyrus that they had hoped, and perhaps maybe they wanted more from him, but it just never seemed to work its way out. Flair blackout several times during. Oh, geez, Paladin. I think he was having heart attacks, man. Wow. That Ospreay will be too had he still wrestled at the age of Flair. Yeah, look, I'm a Will Ospreay guy. I like Will Ospreay. What you guys don't understand is I'm not anti-AEW. I'm not anti-WWE. Hell, I'm not even anti-GCW. I might be anti-XPW. I don't like deathmatch wrestling. I love cruiserweight wrestling. I love junior heavyweight wrestling. I love flying, high flying, death-defying. RVD, Sabu, Rey Mysterio, young Chris Jericho, Ultimo Dragon, I love the whole lucha libre influenced style of wrestling. So I will admit that my taste don't always line up with your guys' taste, but I would never compare Will Ospreay to Ric Flair. Will Ospreay is an amazing talent. Ric Flair is a god of wrestling. Like, he did more for wrestling than I think just about anybody else on the planet, and certainly anybody alive. So that the message kind of falls on me. Let's see. Sean Mega says, it's sad that the AEW and NWA relationship didn't last. I mean, I think that's a product of, again, I kind of blame both sides on that. Billy wants to be treated like a big boy, and I don't blame him for that. He's pumping in lots of his own cash into this wrestling promotion, but he's not anywhere near financially sound as Tony Khan and the money that Tony Khan is throwing around. And I think I don't blame Tony Khan for wanting to be thanked for what he did for the NWA. Likewise, I think the NWA felt like they were helping AEW. All in all, though, they both seem to be doing just fine without one another. And when you look at the relationships that have been developed by AEW, and I'm talking specifically, they had that working relationship with TNA that has come to conclusion, at least it appears to be. They have a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, the second biggest wrestling company on the face of the planet. They have a working relationship with CMLL, probably the third largest wrestling promotion on the planet. They have a working relationship with AAA, again, one of the top movers and shakers of pro wrestling around the world. That's nothing to sneeze at. I think that's a pretty good working relationships to have. These are great promotions to work with, and I don't know if they last forever, but I wouldn't be surprised, shocked, or saddened to hear that Lucha Libre AAA has ends their working agreement with AEW. That wouldn't shock me. That wouldn't surprise me. Likewise, for the NWA, they are forging their own path, seemingly having built these relationships with the World Wrestling Council and in Puerto Rico, and developing a relationship in Japan with All Japan Pro Wrestling. And who knows? I mean, again, we saw EC3 defend the 10 pounds of gold in All Japan Pro Wrestling. The first time we've seen that happen since 1989 in Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't baffle me if we've seen more NWA talent appear on these All Japan shows, especially now in Japan, where they have this weird dichotomy that's happening, where AEW is now partnering very solidly with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So we're seeing a lot of gaijin talent appearing on those cards. And of course, New Japan has always been able to draw from Mexico with CMLL. So that's kind of this great, fascinating relationship. And then you look at Pro Wrestling Noah, which is one of the top three in Japan, and now they're forging a relationship with the WWE. We see that AJ Styles is heading over to Japan. So it doesn't surprise me that perhaps All Japan is looking to form some sort of international relationship. And why not the NWA? There's a lot of great talent in the NWA that are maybe you would consider lesser known, right? But like you look at a guy like Silas Mason, like Dodie mentioned earlier, or maybe even a Tom Latimer, right? EC3's already done it. They All Japan has the end. They use Odinson and Paro, but what about using Odinson and Kratos? That's a dynamic tag team. Or even like I would even suggest Blunt Force Trauma. Tell me what All Japan tag team is like. Blunt Force Trauma and Aaron Stevens. It would be such a weird dichotomy for that company. It'd be so weird to have such sports entertainment in an All Japan ring. I don't know if the fans would know how to react to that. But yeah, I feel like these whole working relationships, I don't think you need to have a working relationship to be successful. I don't think you need to have a working relationship to be unique, but I think it certainly helps in bringing more eyeballs to your product. And then Sean Mega says, signing people to contracts is a great sign. Yeah, of course. And by signing both Markova, right, that was made official. Signing Brian Idol, that was made official. But we haven't heard a lot of talk about some of the contracts. Like, where does Silas Mason fit in? He had announced that he was under contract. Joe Alonso had previously announced he was under a contract. Remember, Joe Alonso was manifesting that he would sign a contract. We haven't heard much about Misa Kate in recent months. In fact, we haven't seen Misa Kate on TV in a very long time. So what's the status of these people? Where are they at? And of course, always cycling new talent is not a bad thing either. And I think with working with the territory system, we're going to see a lot more of that. Paladin said, I'm saying Tyrus was so bad, he made Ric Flair look great. Whew. Mucha Lucha. I do love Lucha. In fact, I plan on going to another Lucha event very, very soon. Hey, Jay, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about WWE working with AEW rivals, Marigold and I don't know how to pronounce that. Stardom and Noah versus New Japan companies are taking sides. I mean, I think I just addressed that inadvertently. I think it's great. I think it's dynamic. I think it's going to present itself very differently all across the board. Sending AJ Styles to go work for Pro Wrestling Noah for a night is very different from having your signed contracted wrestler being the world champion of a promotion. Moxley is an AEW talent, but he is currently the IWGP world champion. That's pretty dynamic, and that shows a lot of fluidity, which I don't think you're going to see with the WWE. Now, I could be mistaken, and again, like, what if Cody goes to Pro Wrestling Noah and Cody wrestles, I don't know who. I don't know enough of the All Japan roster, but what if Cody were to defend the WWE Championship there? I mean, it would be pretty incredible. But I'm not going to hold my breath for any of that stuff. Tony says, I'd rather see the NWA work with SICW than the AEW. Hey, I don't mind. I think, to the NWA's credit, it kind of knows where it's at right now. I think the NWA is finally kind of figured out that it is not on top of the pecking order, but it still could be a major player. And with the idea of the territory systems and working with these smaller promotions to kind of generate these new stars. I mean, look, Silas Mason is probably the biggest success story that the NWA has been able to procure, right? Tom Latimer had a career before the NWA. Nick Aldis had a career before the NWA. Many of these guys were household names long before they got into the NWA. Trevor Murdoch, former WWE Tag Team Champion, EC3, held a few titles for the WWE and a TNA World Champion. But Silas Mason was not a well-known commodity until the NWA, and it was really once they started working with Joe Cazana Promotions. And now you've got guys like Carson Drake, you've got the Slime Balls. There's a lot of teams that are kind of working their way through it, and I think we're going to start seeing more and more stars get fleshed out of the territory system. And we'll see more, development for the NWA, which I think is great. Again, you're building stars is really going to make the NWA different than, MLW or United Wrestling Network, who, I guess MLW kind of has been using more well-known names, but the United Wrestling Network kind of creates its own stars as well. So it kind of gives itself a little bit more credence. I did love WMAC Masters. Geez, Kikuchi, were you hanging out with me when I was 11 years old? NWA Pro Wrestling working with AAA or CMLL in Mexico. I believe, Willie, between the two, they've already have kind of a working relationship with AAA. Last year, we got to see some of the stars of AAA working not only at the World as a Vampire Festival in Mexico City, but they also Rez and I can't remember who else was at the Crockett Cup. And then, of course, like Mecha Wolf is an ambassador. He works for both brands. Same thing with Vampiro. He also works for both brands. So that you kind of have that dynamic already in place. But, what would be great, and we have seen NWA talent working AAA shows too as well. Remember, Camille, while still under the NWA roster, still NWA Women's World Champion, was part of the Lucha Libre. What do they call it? Like the Lucha Libre World Cup, I think is what it was last year. And it was Deonna Purrazzo, Jordan Grace, and Camille who won that. So, and they also had Natalia Markova on that show as well. And Paladin brings up again the Forbidden Door. Yeah, and it's like I have no problem with that. I think that's great. I like the inclusivity of pro wrestling. I feel like there's so many different flavors out there that everyone should at least sample what's out there. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. I mean, look, not everyone's gonna love what I love, and that's totally okay. There's a promotion in Rustic, Glassboro, New Jersey called Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, and I feel like they take a very traditional approach to pro wrestling. They're all the way out in New Jersey. I flew out there to check out one of their shows. Had a great time. I would recommend Dog to just about anybody. But I understand where some people are going to be like, well, I like hardcore wrestling, and I don't see that there. Well, yeah, you're right. You won't. So maybe you don't want to go there. But like for me, I don't like hardcore wrestling. I like death matches, so I don't watch XPW. XPW runs in my backyard. I've never once went to one of their events. Oh, that's not true. I've been to 2 XPW shows, and I won't go to a third. Let's see. Dodie says, All Japan loves big guys. I'm sure they would love Murnox, Fixers, and Blunt Force Trauma, and Cyrus the Destroyer for the NWA. Oh, yeah, and Slade. You're right, Dodie. And Slade was a great signing. Slade is awesome. I can't wait to see him get that well-deserved push. Let's see. So this past Thursday, I saw a clip of Billy Corgan and Drew McIntyre recreating the iconic moment from The Simpsons, and everyone's saying that there might be a possible crossover between WWE and the NWA. Noob, and look, I can't predict the future, and I have no idea what's going on with McIntyre. But remember, McIntyre was a Billy Corgan guy. Billy and Dave Lagana, when the whole NWA concept was coming to fruition, when they bought the NWA, they intended to put the 10 pounds of gold on Drew McIntyre. It wasn't until he signed with the WWE that those plans changed. And I would think it would be really interesting, super interesting, if, at 76, and we're talking this is like, 2 months away, if it's Drew McIntyre versus EC3 for the 10 pounds of gold at the 2300 arena. I think that would sell tickets. I think that would blow people's minds. But with that being said, this relationship with TNA and the WWE is also growing as well. And if you have, Drew McIntyre under contract, why not send him to TNA Wrestling and cause havoc there? Maybe become TNA World Champion to come back to the WWE and challenge Damian Priest again, or who knows? Like, I start thinking of the grander things that could happen because of this. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in a TNA ring for the TNA World Championship. Like, that would be wild to me. That would be very, very crazy. But who knows? Maybe it's not a work. Maybe Drew McIntyre really did quit. Maybe he'll show up in AEW in like 3 months. Who knows? It's like World War II of wrestling. Everyone thank TK for this. It's because TK is locking down all the talent that WWE has no choice but to use other company rosters. Well, I mean, I'll say this, Paladin, and more of the historians in the chat could verify this, but there were point in times where the WWF, had various working relationships with either All Japan Pro Wrestling or other wrestling promotions in Japan. In fact, at one point, there was the titles situation with New Japan Pro Wrestling. They were using the PWF Northwest Championship as their main title. I could be wrong on the name, and I probably am, but there was a direct connection between the WWF and New Japan Pro Wrestling, where even Inoki had won the WWF martial arts title or something like that. And it had wrestled against, I want to say it was, what's his name? I can't think of his name. The guy who the Sheik beat for the title. It's going to drive me crazy now. I can't think of it. Anyways, there's always been wrestling promotions working with each other. Got to remember too, at one point, WWE was helping to finance ECW during its last days. The WWE had previously had working relationships with the World Wrestling Council, and the WWE also had previously had working relationships with AAA. In fact, at one point they had a lucha program, Super Astros, which featured a combination between WWE talent and AAA talent. So, yes, you're right. With Tony Khan signing all these talents, working with all these different places, it is definitely motivating the WWE to do the same, but it's hardly the first time that that's happened. And of course, we can look back at WCW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, that relationship, which was highly featured on, the Monday Night Wars, with not just the cruiserweights, but the whole NWO and all that stuff. So yeah, it's not new. It's just different. Let's see. Dodie says, tell AAA to have better camera angles. Lucha Libre World Cup. Yeah, I still remember the sunset. And the Guadalajara aerial view. But I want Heidi Karui for NWO. I'm sorry, I don't know who she is. Billy Corgan and Drew forming a two-man band, a boy band. It's a work. WWE was tweeting about it on Twitter. Sure, look, it's... Bob Backlund, thank you, Dodie. I could not get to Bob Backlund, thank you. AAA always gets the girls' big butts on camera. Where's this show going? What are we doing here? Let's talk about some upcoming events for the NWA. Of course, do I not have them here? Apparently I don't. We know that this weekend, the Exodus Pro has their event, Almost Paradise, that's happening on June 22nd. That's a Saturday in Cleveland, Ohio. The Ultrastar Ashton Day will be challenging the Master of the Canvas, Sebastian. That one is a barn burner right there, baby. Why does Sebastian kind of look like Murnox? Mike Knox, to be specific. And, of course, the Wall Street fight, EC3 versus Carson Drake. The NWA has not really featured Carson Drake much more than comedy or special entertainment. If you're watching this one, I think you're going to see some good old-fashioned wrestling. And, of course, the Page sisters, they have a show that'll be on Friday, June 28th next week, which will feature Kenzie and Kylie Page with Danny Deals taking on former Pretty Empowered member Roxy and Brittany Jade. That takes place at Night of the Daredevils. Also on that card is going to be Sean Hoodrich versus Jackson Drake. And again, that's the NWA representation out there in Newport, Tennessee. And then we heard that, Joe Cazana Promotions announced I think it was yesterday, trials at the Troubadour right there in Nashville, Tennessee. It looks like we're going to see stars from Coastal Championship Wrestling, the NWA, TNA, let's use that TNA name loosely. Chase Stevens hasn't been in a TNA ring in quite some time, but you'll see Colby Carter, the Stew Crew, Silas Mason, the Country Gentleman. That takes place Friday, July 19th. And again, just to run down our World's Heavyweight Champion title matches that are coming up, we have this weekend at Evolution, which is, let's go to actually this one first. We've got EC3 defending against Channing Deckham. This match will be on Triller TV Plus, so if you still have your Triller TV membership, you'll see the NWA World Heavyweight Championship return to Triller as he defends against Channing Decker. Then also the following night, he will be at his home promotion Exodus Pro defending the title against Carson Drake. Then he will be at Evolution taking on Bill Collier for APWF Wrestling in Pennsylvania. And that all happens this weekend before he next month, where he flies out to to Italy and France. This is France and that's Italy. So and then of course that leads to the 76th anniversary show, August 31st. Samhain taking place on October 26th, Samhain 2, and Looks to Kill, that'll be filming on December 14th. So a lot of events for NWA fans to participate in and check out. I hope you guys will make sure that you're doing that anyways, checking out what's going on there with the NWA. Again, it's growing quick, man. It's happening. And, this territory system, regardless of what you think about success or failure, what it looks like, the fact that we're seeing the NWA name associated with so many different brands that are running consistently with great talent, I think is a very good thing for the NWA. And of course, we still are we're still waiting for the results of the Crockett Cup. I know who won, but I ain't going to tell. And then, of course, they crowned a new champion at the return to the territories. We'll have to wait and see who won that and what's next for that champion. And then you got guys like PB Smooth out here just defending his NWA Midwest Championship all over. Silas Mason, the Joe Cazana Promotions champion. Crossfire Juventud Guerrera is their champion. And what's going to happen with all these guys? And are we going to see more of them on TV? We're going to see more of these guys at the 76th anniversary show. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. So I guess now's a good time to wrap it up. I do want to say thank you guys for being a part of our Tuesdays. I'm sorry for the technical errors that started the show off. I do appreciate you guys being a part of the show. We do have new merchandise appearing all the time in our merchandise shop. I want to shout out, I just saw today we had 2 sales, a dose of reality. Thank you for your purchase. And of course, our own Jaden of the Alliance guys made a purchase of a new shirt. We're going to have some merchandise specific for the NWA 76. I hope you'll be curious enough to check that out and maybe pick up a t-shirt. If you're going to the 76, please drop me a line. I'd like to see you. I'll bring you a t-shirt to wear. And I guess that's going to do it for us. I got to be honest, man. The NWA is exciting. The NWA is fun. I hope you guys are having a good time. Just a few more pictures real quick. I didn't say they were great pictures. I just said that they were pictures. But I think that the NWA is in a good position right now, and hopefully we'll see some more of this great action coming to you live in a wrestling ring near you. Oh, I thought that was going to take the graphic off. Oops. All right. Until then, guys, you've been great. I've been pretty awful, but thanks for hanging out with me. Until then, we'll see you at the match. Oh. I forgot to mention the EC3 chat. I don't want to call it an interview. It really wasn't an interview. The EC3 chat is now available on our Spotify. You can also find it on YouTube. And I believe tomorrow we'll finally release the Shane Haste interview right here on the Alliance blog. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But until then, we'll see you at the matches. Oh, and one more. We're going to have special announcements on Thursday's show. We're going to have the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator matchmaker, Jim Molinall, will be with us, and he will break some of the matches that are happening for their next event. I hope you guys are excited to see it, hear it, and live it. But then, till then, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA POWERRR every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the Alliance.